Fish and Chums!
Hey, hi everybody, Gary Heidrich here with this week's Fish and Chums Fishing Report. We're out here at the old fishing shack and getting ready to go fishing. You know why? Because I'm out here at Table Rock and boy, things are really starting to bust wide open out here at the rock. Good reports coming your way. But first of all, we're going to start around the Horn. We'll go up here at Stockton Lake, and they're still catching crappie out there. They're definitely kind of in the winter patterns, 15, 18, 20, 25 feet of water. You guys know where those brush piles are. Get over there for your favorite jig and minnow combination. I think you'll catch fish this weekend with this beautiful weather. Truman Lake, definitely the crappie are moving to the winter patterns. A lot of bluff fishing, as I've talked about the last couple of weeks here on the program. They're catching crappie, and I like this. When I used to guide at Truman back in the 90s, early 90s, I tell you what, I love the lower 1/3 of the lake and just use the bluffs. Find the bluffs, cedar trees, brush, timber, get out there with a 1/16 ounce jig. I tell you what I like to use this time of the year out there. I like a little bit of color, but this is one of my favorite colors. This is just a jig head. I get it at Bass Pro, 1/16 ounce. And it's orange and chartreuse combination. Then I like a little tube body, orange body, chartreuse tail. Boy, that works good out there at Truman. And so just pitch that out, just get it down there about 10, 12, 15, 18, then just work it back. And boom, you're going to catch some crappie. And then ease up with your trolling motor if you have a big cedar tree. And just get out there and just kind of vertically fish that thing, and you'll catch some fish. So those jigs are working, little plastic shad bodies are working with those jig heads, and so Truman, good fishing out there. In fact, last weekend, I had good reports, a lot of limits being caught out at Truman, even in that bad weather. So that just goes to show you. Truman Lake looks good again for crappie this weekend. Next door, it sounds like a broken record, folks. Next door at Lake of the Ozarks, same thing. They're catching crappie out there in the big condo docks, pitching some jigs out there. And people are not good with that jig touch, pitching just minnows and letting it fall, catching some fish. And the condo docks and the smaller docks still producing some good fishing and off some of the banks with a little bit of structure, brush, timber. They're picking up some fish in 6, 8, 10, 12 feet of water. Lake of the Ozarks this weekend. Looks good again. Sounds like a broken record, but folks are catching big crappie out of the lake. Okay, let's go to Bull Shoals Lake in the mid-lake area. Had a buddy up in Music Creek the other day, picked up some real nice bass. And I tell you what they're doing. There's a lot of different things happening at Bull Shoals like Table Rock. Out at Bull Shoals, they're catching some fish on wiggleworts. And I tell you what, I was out at Table Rock the other day, and here's an old bait I've had for years and years. The paint's about wore off from it, but I like any kind of of course, crawdad imitation pattern. And I like this brown top, chartreuse sides, and orange belly. That works real good out there. So it looks good. It works good on Table Rock and Bull Shoals. The points and secondary points, some crankbait fishing is happening, that's for sure. Now at Bull Shoals, they've been picking up some fish also on top water in the evening hours. Had a buddy out there the other day, as I mentioned, and it seemed like around 4 o'clock they really started getting some good bass on the kind of just a regular spook, the big spook, and the shad body. And they've been picking up some good fish out at Bull Shoals. And so you may want to try some topwater fishing out there this weekend. They're doing some drop shot fishing, and on windy days, way back into the creek arms, they're slow rolling spinnerbaits picking up some fish as well. Bull Shoals looks good this weekend for bass. Okay, at Lake Taneycomo, let's go at Lake Taneycomo. I was out there the other day, and I tell you what, fishing has really been good out there this week, unlike the last 2 weeks. It's been good, fair the last 2 weeks, but this last week it's really been good. You know why? Because the Corps of Engineer is running some water through out of Table Rock through Lake Taneycomo, and when they run water, or the crappie, or excuse me, the trout really pick up. The fish has been picking up out there really good this week. And I tell you what little thing that I like to do. I love to take just night crawlers, and I'll cut it in about a third. I'll use 3 different parts of the night crawler and just use a small hook. You know why? Because you don't want a heavy hook keeping that bait on the bottom. You need to use just a split shot up at about 7 inches, small hook like a number 8, hook at one time, And then if they're running water, use your electric, your trolling motor to kind of keep your boat level, and just kind of bounce that off the bottom. You're going to catch fish. Now with the night crawlers, if they quit running water, just hook that the same way, pitch it out, 4-pound test, and let it fall, and work it back to the boat. You'll catch fish. Sometimes when I get it back to the boat, I haven't had any hits, I'll just drop it to the bottom, crank it one crank up off the bottom, and a lot of times the fish will follow it in and you'll catch it. So good trout fishing this week, really good. And they're catching them not only on night crawlers, they've been picking up some fish on Berkeley Power bait, and it seems like that peach color still working, and they've been picking up some fish on Power eggs, and it seems like pink or white's been working. But use your colors, whatever's working for you will work. And they've still been picking up some trout on the Berkeley trout worm, that pink worm we've been talking about for 2 months. They're still picking up some fish out there on a slip bobber or a strike indicator, pitching that out, and especially when they're not running water, that pink Berkeley trout worm will work. Okay, Table Rock. Boy, things are really happening out at Table Rock this week. Things have really changed. This morning, by the way, kind of cold last night. The water temperature was 57 degrees. It's really starting to drop, and the fishing is really starting to pick up. This is what you can do. You can catch fish on a variety of ways out at Table Rock. You can catch them still out on the long gravel bars, the long runs. You get out there with your drop shot, your favorite drop shot bait. Get in it. You start looking around 25, 35, 40, and even 50 feet. And some of the boys have really been catching some nice fish, some keepers this week, I understand. So the drop shot fishing is getting stronger. They're catching fish some shallow on jigs, brown jigs around the docks, like football jigs. And they also been picking up some fish on jig and pigs on the bluff ends. You might want to check this out. But get back into the creek arms out at Table Rock, because more and more shad are moving back into the creek arms, more and more fish are following them, and you can catch them some days. You just have to look with your electronic because they're moving a lot. And use your grubs. I love that 1/4 ounce jig head with just a smoke with the red flake. That's my personal favorite. Also, sometimes just the salt and pepper has been working. Spoons, like a 1/2, 3/4 ounce white spoons. You find those big schools of shad, get in there and look for those schools of shad. Get in there with grubs or spoons. I think you can catch fish this weekend. Now, they're picking up some shallow water fish too, not only with some of the brown jigs or the football style jigs, but get out there with your wiggle warts like bull shoals. Anything with the crawdad pattern's been working, your points and secondary points. So Table Rock looks good for the weekend. Boy, and we're going to have beautiful weather all through next week, I understand. Wowee. Want to thank you for being with us today. Be sure to like and share, and tell your friends about our show. Be sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions, we have a few questions, but we're running out of time. We'll get to it next week. Be sure to get a hold of us at fishingchums@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe. Hey, have yourself a nice weekend this Thanksgiving weekend. Get out and get bit. Happy outdoors, everyone. Gary Heidrich here for Fishing Chums Fishing Report.